Well, good afternoon, Sue. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. It's nice to have you here.
Hi there. Thanks for having me. It's a
Absolutely.
pleasure to be here.
I'm looking forward to our conversation. So, for those that don't know who you are, can you share a little bit about Obsidian Manufacturing, your background, the company background, and what the company looks like today?
I'm Sue Nordman, president and co-owner of Obsidian Manufacturing Industries, Inc. We own four different brands
Wow.
and a grind shop. And our brands have been around for a long time. The oldest one is over 100 years old,
Holy
and
cow.
the others are over 70 years old. So we are making and repairing and remanufacturing and all that kind of stuff, servicing these brands. And then we also purchased a grind shop. So we do a lot of surface grinding, just not OD, ID, or anything like that, just regular surface grinding.
Uh-huh.
With Matson grinders, so they're big and old and well used, and that's where we're at today. My husband worked with the brands since the 80s, and he was an officer of a company, co-owner of a company in the early 2000s to 2007, and then he purchased one of the brands, and then we built on that from there.
Okay. Wow, interesting. And tell me a little bit more, tell us about these brands, these companies, what products you make.
Our oldest brand is Ardor Precision Grinders, and they are rotary surface grinder that are. We still have a model that we make, a CNC Model E.
Hmm.
Otherwise, the other models that were made have been obsoleted, but they're cast bases, so they're a rugged surface grinder that can take a lot of multiple parts, high production runs.
Wow.
And a lot of our customers are using 50, 60, 70-year-old grinders. We're
Oh,
supplying
wow.
them with spare parts, or we're remanufacturing them, repairing them, servicing them in all sorts of ways. And then another brand we own is Magnalock, and that's work holding,
Okay.
vacuum work holding, electromagnetic chucks, permanent chucks, accessories, industrial controllers for the chucks. We're one of the few American-based companies that make chuck controls
Hmm.
in the United States. And then our other two brands are Power Grip and Magnalift, and those are lifting magnets.
Okay. Very cool. And do you do the majority of the manufacturing for all those products in a single
We do,
facility or?
we do,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And that whatever we're not capable of producing, we job shop it out here locally. Um,
Where are you
some of the
located?
gears, pardon me,
Where are you located?
Rockford, Illinois. So we're in the
Oh, right.
Midwest.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure. Right.
But a lot of the gears and those types of things for the Ardor grinders are really difficult to make. Some of them now. Um, I can't remember. It might have been a bevel gear. We had trouble
Hmm.
sourcing it. We finally found a place in California that could
Okay.
make them for us. But you needed a special Gleason machine, and nobody kept theirs, and it was a little rough because things that were made 100 years ago, it's kind of hard to replicate them right now. So,
Mm-hmm. Wow.
um,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
can imagine. So, what does your shop floor look like today? Or well, I guess, Obsidian Manufacturing. I'd love to know the name as well, where that came from. But what does the shop look like? How many people? What kind of machines do you have on the floor?
last year we had about 17 people, including a couple subcontracting people that we didn't actually employ but
Okay.
called upon. We're down to probably about 15, maybe 14 right now.
Okay.
We have a combination of CNC and manual machines.
Hmm.
And I've always boasted that the best machinists know a little bit of each.
Absolutely.
A manual machinist, I know everybody wants to go CNC, but I think manual machinists bring a certain amount of knowledge and skill to the table that some CNC machinists just can't. You've got to be open minded and be able to do both,
Hmm.
in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
We have a mix of different machines. We wind coils here for all of our electromagnetic products.
Mm-hmm.
Our big mats and grinders, we have an 84-inch mats and grinder. It's one of, locally as far as grind shops, we're the biggest um, rotary chuck around for that. There is a couple in the area that are bigger, but they're not grind shops. So
Okay.
it's kind of a unique.
And
Our
so I
horizontal grinder is, I think, 96 inches long, so we can take some pretty big parts.
those are very big. So is a
Mhm.
rotary surface grinder, is that where the table spins and then
Mhm.
you have a big grinding wheel that also spins
Yep.
and they okay. Yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
those.
and the table is an electromagnetic chuck, so we
Right.
actually make
Yep.
those, repair those, all of that, as
Wow.
well as have our own grinders.
That's a lot
So
of
that was kind of,
complexity.
yeah, that was kind of a unique situation as far as our customers. The acquisition of the grind shop was our last acquisition we made in 2019, and I was a little leery of it because some of our customers are grind customers.
Mm,
So I didn't want them to think we were competing with them or taking a little too long on their job or something.
right.
Um, so we always offer to grind their parts while their chuck is down if they need it ground,
Mm-hmm.
um, while we repair their chuck. So
That's a nice service to be able to do both like
mhm.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
As far as the name Obsidian, you wanted to know
Yes.
about that? That goes back to my kids. My business partner is my husband as well.
Mm-hmm.
So two of our kids are currently working here now. Our third child is in college, but she does things kind of on the side for us sometimes.
Okay.
But we live near a family farm, our family farm, and my kids, when they were little, would always go rock hunting.
Mm.
And we actually found some obsidian.
Oh, cool.
And so we took it to a local museum, and the geologist there told us that it was obsidian, which, if you know anything about rocks,
Mm-hmm.
that is hardened lava.
Yeah.
We have no volcanoes around here. So he concluded that it had to have come through the glaciers. So
Wow.
it's just a really unique rock to us. So
Yeah.
anytime we see it, so when we were naming the company, which we changed the name in 2018 when I became a majority stockholder.
Okay.
And so that was one of our picks, and we all liked it. So we went with it. And Obsidian, ages ago, probably in the Stone Ages, was actually used as a tool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it kind of
Because
ties in to the
it
industry.
chips nicely. It gets very sharp
Mm-hmm.
edges. Very hard.
Scalpels. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yep.
love that. That's awesome. So, are you expecting your third child, your daughter, to join the business as well?
She has worked here before.
Yeah.
It's just that she's at college that isn't
Sure.
local. So
Right.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's nothing that we pressure them into doing.
Sure.
But they've just kind of landed. They each have their own story. They've landed here at one time or another in their lives, and they know things well
Mm-hmm.
around here. So,
Right.
and they
I
get,
guess they.
even if they don't stay in the family business, they certainly have gotten a bird's eye view of what running a business is like.
Yeah. What an incredible experience and great
Mm-hmm.
wealth of knowledge to have to go out in the world and do whatever you're going to do.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Wonderful. So what percentage of your business is sort of the product business that you do versus your sort of contract grinding, work? I imagine.
Um, Gosh, it fluctuates. Some weeks we can have nearly all grinding.
Oh, wow.
It just really, it really depends. We're so diversified as far as the industries. I mean, the industries we service are probably a combination of all of our brands in the grinding, probably over 40 industries. So it just really, a lot depends on what we see in here, depends on the economy,
Hmm.
what's going on right now. Through the pandemic, we've seen a lot of grinding, a lot of stainless steel grinding for medical tables, for vibratory tables for medication, and
Wow.
all that kind of stuff. So any given week we could be doing anything. That's why it's so important for us to cross train in our shop,
Mm-hmm.
because they never have the same experience day in and day out.
Right.
Our workers, they're floating around all over the place.
Yeah, I would imagine with all the different manufacturing processes you do, the diversity of types of equipment and things that people need to do is greater than just a straight up machine shop where they are running
Exactly.
a mill or a lathe or something like that.
Yeah. When it comes to grinding, the grinder operators, they're pretty steady on the particular machines that they operate.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have a steady supply of grinding, they're going to stay at their grinder all day
Okay.
doing jobs.
Right.
But it just depends. When we see grinding slack off, we know the economy is kind of slow down a little,
Mm-hmm.
just because when the economy picks up, people are either sending their grinding over to finish up projects that they've been trying to get done, or they're starting new ones.
Mm-hmm.
So we see a big rush of grinding when things start to pick up more.
Interesting. So, given that you are a large part of your business is supplying machinery and hardware and equipment for manufacturers, it almost might seem to me that you guys might, how busy you are, might be a bit of a leading indicator on sort of the strength of the manufacturing economy, right? If people are
Yes,
buying
I would
trucks,
have to
buying
say
work
yes.
holding.
And also what they're buying. Right now, there's just a lot of people repairing. They want to know what something new costs, but they're like, oh, I think we'll just have you repair ours, just
Okay.
because it's it's just that type of mindset right now with everybody. Everybody's worried to spend money.
Mm-hmm.
The recession looming type thing.
Sure,
So
sure,
that, or they're getting quotes, saying our quote's good, but they're gonna wait, not pull the trigger yet. So
sure. Yeah, interesting. Um, has have so you've been, I mean, the business has been around for a long time. I imagine the highs and lows that I know job shops certainly see very heavily. um, do you guys see it to the same degree, or because of the diversity of your businesses is that sort of leveled out slightly, do you think?
um, I would say yes, we do see it to a certain degree, especially with newer products. We
Mm-hmm.
will see a lot of, when aerospace industry is doing well, we'll see a lot of quoting and purchasing of vacuum fork holding,
Yeah,
big
there's
vacuum trucks
lots
and
of
that type of thing.
thin hog outs. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it just, yeah, it's up and down. That's probably our biggest challenge, is continuing to sell all the time and cash flow. But I think you could pick anybody that you talk to on your podcast, and they're going to say the same thing.
Sure, sure. Yeah. Um, so you mentioned cross training. I'd love to
Hmm.
dig into that a little bit. How you go about with sort of workforce development, finding workers, finding employees, and then your strategy of, you know, upskilling and training and cross training and, you know,
A year ago, I would have been a little bit more upbeat. I've had a little bit of ups and downs this year with employees, and not what I thought they were going to be. They promised things they probably couldn't really deliver,
hmm,
kind of thing. So I have reverted to using temp agencies and employment agencies, and letting them, I give them a list of what I want and let them do the work.
okay.
The last person I hired was last fall, and I went through a lot of interviewing only to find out that's really not what we wanted, kind of thing. People
Hmm.
applying to things that they probably shouldn't be applying to.
Just weren't qualified for, you mean?
Yeah, or they were stretching it a bit.
Okay. How did that come out? Did you do tests or wait till you hired them and then just, you know, see how they
um,
performed?
well, I mean, it's not like we're like a startup and new to this. So once you get them in the interview, whether it's virtual or in person, you
Hmm.
just can pick up on some things. So we just kind of weeded the people out, and the person that we hired in the fall was, she's done an excellent job.
Oh,
She's done
nice.
well. Yeah. So
And then so
we're
once you get,
currently looking for somebody right now, and I just left it all to the agency. They've been feeding me people, and I've been saying yes, no, I'll take a look at that one, kind of thing.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more about that. So they're a temp firm, but they ideally looking
Yeah,
for temp to hire? Like ultimately,
that
you want
type
to
of
hire
thing.
them full
I mean,
time.
they're pretty versatile, especially nowadays. I'd say 10 years ago, truly a temp place. They just
Hmm.
put somebody in a position, and then the job was done at a certain date.
Hmm.
But this kind of thing is they will do that. They will seek someone out for you. They're pretty versatile. We just had a Chrysler or Fiat or whatever the correct name is right now.
Uh-huh.
Plant closed near us
Oh,
in
really?
Belvedere, Illinois. Yeah.
Okay.
And so we have a ton of people in the job market that are looking for things.
Mm.
And a lot of times they just go directly to a place like that, an employment agency. So that's why I just chose to do that.
Yeah. So I haven't actually spoken with someone that's using that as a strategy. So for those that maybe not have explored that, um, can you just elaborate a little bit more? So you provide them with a job description of what you're
Yep.
looking for.
Even if I had an ad that I was going to place and I didn't place it, I would just give them the ad, give them the job description, give them a
Okay.
thorough list of what our benefits are, and then they kind of pre-select and pre-interview them,
Hmm.
and it seems to be working a lot better than me tying up a lot of my time. As a small business owner, I wear a lot of hats,
Oh, sure.
and
Yeah.
I just don't have the time to be messing with
So
all
it's kind of like an outsourced, HR department that's
that.
that's finding you vetted, somewhat, or they think qualified employees for you to do sort of
Yep.
final review on.
Yeah, and
And
then
then,
even if somebody starts the position and there's a problem, I just call them and they pull the person. They're no longer here.
right.
Start over, get somebody different.
And at what point do you transition from uh, that employment agreement to you having them full time as a W-2 employee?
I haven't done this a lot, but I would say 90 days. I mean, that's usually what our probationary period is here anyway.
Okay.
You can usually have a good feel for what's going on with the employee in the
Right.
first 90 days.
And then just to kind of wrap this one up, because I do think people will find this interesting.
Hmm.
Um, as far as the costs go, when you hire them, do you pay the firm a percentage of their like annual wages, or are
There's
they just
there's
marking
usually
up
like
training?
a hiring buyout type thing that,
Okay.
but some places, like if you stick with them for 6 months, I
Hmm.
believe it is. I think we had one that we used last year, and after 6 months, you can just directly hire the employee. You don't have to pay the agency anything.
I see. But they've made obviously some kind of margin on the employee.
Hmm. Yeah, they
Do they
mark it
charge
up.
separately for the vetting process, or only once they deliver an employee?
No, it's built into whatever they're
Okay.
marking up the wage.
Got it.
And
Okay.
some places have contracts that you
Hmm.
sign, and some places you can just call up and say, I need somebody, here's what I need, and see what they can give you.
Right.
And there's several of them around here that work with skilled trades. So
Right.
you have you have options.
And then once you get them in the door, and tell us about your cross training you talked about. Is it any kind of formalized system, or is it more just shadowing people?
It's probably more shadowing people,
Okay.
just because we deal with such a variety, and we don't always know what kind of jobs we're going to get. If we're going to get a repair or manufacturing a brand new chuck or troubleshooting a chuck control,
Hmm.
grind jobs. The grinders are probably the only thing that we haven't had a lot of job shadowing or training on. There's not a lot of people out here that want to run those big grinders anymore.
Mm,
So
right.
if anybody's listening and wants to come and apply, come talk to me.
Right.
Big mats and grinders, there's a lot of people that don't know how to run them. So
Sure. I imagine it's very complex.
yeah,
Sort of an art, maybe.
I would say so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Um, have you ever engaged with like local tech colleges or things like that to find folks?
I would like to. We actually, one of our employees here and myself belong to a consortium with the county next to us has a community college
Hmm.
that heads it up and facilitates the consortium of a group of employers that are vested in the next generation of skilled trades.
Right.
And they work with high schools
Oh,
and
great.
they have all those types of things, internships. Because we're not in the same county, we can't take advantage of a lot of it, but the county that we're in does not provide that.
Mm.
But we assist in any way we can, we promote it, and I'm just doing a lot of learning from being with that group of people. But it's a wonderful group of people, and they are so interested in building a valuable workforce. So
That's a worthwhile.
I would like to try job shadowing before I do any type of an apprenticeship here, just because of the variety of work we do. It would be difficult for me to say I need an apprentice for building check controls. I don't know
Sure.
if I'd have enough work for,
Just
a
doing it
6 week
that only.
period or whatever, however long it would be.
Hmm.
So I think job shadowing would be something that we could set up here for high schoolers.
Yeah. That's I mean, I'm hearing more and more programs that are reaching into high schools to try to get them engaged in being interested in manufacturing, and I think that's just such an essential step of the process of trying to rebuild you know, a generation of
Yes.
folks that consider manufacturing as viable careers.
Our marketing person and marketing communications manager and our vice president went to a high school job, well, it wasn't a job fair, a career fair.
Hmm.
And the kids there thought it was so cool we had a TikTok. So if you're not on TikTok and you want to inspire the next generation, get on there and show them what you do in your shop. So,
That is wonderful advice. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
you got to get
yeah.
at their level, is the point.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And what's so you said something. You said you're a marketing person. So
Yes.
maybe this is different with your own brands, or maybe it's not. But I don't hear a lot of 15-person shops talking about their marketing person. So can you elaborate on the
We
importance
have a
of doing
lot. We
that?
actually have more than one marketing. I'm the one that got it started, and I love marketing, but I just don't have the time to devote to it all the time.
Hmm. Yep.
So I will assist, but we do have a marketing communications manager, and then we have a remote worker that is a marketing assistant. So we can keep those people busy, believe me, with blog writing and social media posts and updating our websites and all of that. We do that all in house. Ebooks, all of it. So all those tips you hear about, you got to have blogs on your website and stuff. That all comes from us internally.
Right.
So I mean, with 4 brands, and we have all the proprietary rights and engineering documents and archives of all the brands. So there's a lot of paperwork and a wealth of information about our products and all of that. So if you want to talk about repurposing content for marketing, we'll pull stuff out from the 60s and take a look at it, rewrite it a little bit, put an updated picture with it, and it's still relevant to our products. Some of our products last 50 years. Our grinders are obviously lasting longer than that. So there's a lot there that we can reuse, repurpose.
Wow. So you said the marketing originally came from you. So before you, I guess, push that as an initiative, were the company's brands not really doing much in the way of marketing in the same way?
Correct. They weren't. It was more word of mouth. I think
Hmm.
the manufacturing industry's changed a lot as far as marketing, and it was actually my husband, the vice president, that was saying, we don't need marketing, we don't need advertising, we have word of mouth. We're not hiring. He's thinking agency that used to make a nice catalog and
Sure.
thousands and thousands of dollars for a print ad and all of that. And we have, that's not marketing these days. I'm not against doing that. There's a lot of big companies that do still do that,
Mhm.
but I think a small business is able to do well with either using a subcontractor type arrangement with someone that's a marketer or having someone in house do their marketing. But content is the main drive of all of it. You've got to be taking pictures and writing blogs and educating the public about your business, what you do, how you can solve their problems.
Hmm. And so, where besides TikTok, where else do you publish your content?
We are on all social media. Some of
Okay.
our brands have their own accounts because some
Okay.
people are looking for Magnalite products. Some people are looking for Ardor grinders. So they don't associate those brand names with Obsidian.
Hmm.
So a few of those, a few of the social media platforms have their own brand accounts, LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram.
Right.
Twitter and TikTok, we have just a company account. But
Okay.
we do some print ads sometimes. We do a lot of email marketing, and we do. Uh, we're just getting into doing some marketing through mail, the old school.
Oh, direct mail. Yeah.
Yeah, it's effective. I don't know what to say. I don't know why, but not everybody wants a ton of emails. So
Sure.
putting a little postcard on their desk seems to work. So
I love that. Yeah. Um, have you seen sort of direct measurable results from doing your marketing? Do you track where new customers come from and say that,
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
We have a
which,
lot of lead generation. We've really analyzed that a lot. We collect a lot of analytics, and we go through those analytics either monthly or quarterly.
mhm,
But we are always keeping an eye on it. So we have a method of we this is something we were working on. This is one of my goals for this year is a sales playbook that's unique to our business with a sales
mhm,
cadence,
yeah.
all of that. So that's you got to have lead generation for that. You've got to have, you know, not necessarily cold calls in the sense that you and I probably think about them, but you've got to have people that are possible customers. So you got to
Hmm.
be finding those, feeding them to your sales department,
Right.
that type of thing.
So, do you use a CRM system today?
No,
Okay.
I
Okay.
wished we did. It's probably our own version of it.
Okay.
We're one of those spreadsheet people.
Sure. Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of them out there
For
still.
sure.
I would love to be able to accommodate a CRM. We tried one, and I don't really want to get into brands and all that right
Hmm.
now, but we
Sure.
tried one, and it wasn't as effective as we wanted it to be. And I
Okay.
don't know if that's because we have so many different. We have one large database of over 5,000 customers,
Oh, wow.
and so, but they're categorized differently, and it just didn't give us everything we needed. So we have this spreadsheet that we use, and it works well, believe it or not.
So you
It's
mentioned
similar
email.
to Smart Sheets. I don't know if you've heard of that, but
I
it's
have
kind
heard
of
of
like
that.
a,
Yeah.
um,
Smart
I
data.
don't know what you
Smart.
want to go. Yeah, it's
Smart
a
spreadsheet
spreadsheet.
database thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay. Um, yeah. When you mentioned like sales cadences with your sales playbook, I figured maybe there's a so you must then but use at least an email platform to send out
Yes,
emails to different
yep,
lists and things like that.
yes. And
Okay.
that's through our website host. So
Okay.
anybody that feeds into our website, they're already
Hmm.
going to be on our subscriber list.
Okay. And do you maintain different lists for the different brands and products?
Yes, we do.
Okay. I
Yeah,
imagine that can get complicated with different
it
forms
can. That's what.
feeding
Yeah,
different lists and
exactly. But
yeah.
we've really gotten it down to where it's working well for us.
And
Just
can you
everybody has to respect the process
oh such
and
wise words.
understand. Yes, yes.
I'm gonna write that one down. Respect the process. That's so good. Um, so what platform has been most effective reaching other manufacturing companies?
As far as social media,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
I would say LinkedIn. LinkedIn is
yeah,
where you want to be. Yeah.
yeah.
Facebook is good for like things to do with your employees. Like,
Mm-hmm.
your employees want to share that we had a appreciation breakfast or something, those types of things that are more personal to them.
Yeah.
And Instagram and TikTok are more short videos and reels and
Mm-hmm.
the younger crowd.
Right. I think even the way that you and I got connected, and when I reached out to you to be on the show, was because I've seen such good content on LinkedIn from your company, and you
Well, thank
share it
you.
as well,
Yeah.
and so yeah, that
Yeah.
just what stood out.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you.
fantastic. Yeah, no, I think it is changing in the manufacturing industry, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's changed. There's still many manufacturers
Exactly.
that don't embrace it, um, don't put effort and attention and time and investment into it, and I'm seeing. Well, I think I'm seeing the shops that do that are rewarded with more business and more growth than the shops that aren't doing that as much.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that it plays into one of our values of transparency. I mean, we don't have a problem showing what's on our shop floor and what we do. I mean, we're not going to give away any trade secrets, but on
Sure.
the other hand, and we do have a privacy policy too. We do have NDAs that we sign and everything. So there's a lot of products that we make we can't show you or talk about,
Hmm.
but it's just showing what we do in our shop and how we do it and look at what we did kind of thing. And I think that helps people get the right perception of you, that we're just a company, small town or small business, just manufacturing products
Yeah.
for the country and beyond. I mean, we have global reach of all of our brands. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Excellent. And so I imagine on the employee side, do you have you found employees through your social media activities, or do you think that's a component?
Occasionally, yeah, occasionally we'll have somebody say, I want to work there. We've had people come in and we've interviewed them and they're like, we've seen, we checked out all your stuff on social media and it's great and we want to work there type thing. I think sometimes they get the wrong idea, and it's nothing that we're publicizing that is wrong or anything. It's just I think social media in any respect can give you a false perception of
Hmm.
what people are, what they do, what companies are, how great everything is. I mean,
Right.
we still have our ups and downs here. We still have bad days. People make
Sure.
mistakes.
Of course.
We're only human. So,
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned core values, and transparency being one of them. Do you have
yes.
a published list of all the ones you
We do
have?
on our website. I hope
Okay.
you're not going to ask me to read them because I'm going to have to like
No,
flip
it's
over there and see them. Integrity is one of them. Transparency.
hmm
I can't think of the others, but it doesn't mean that they don't mean anything to me. There's 5 of them, I believe,
yeah.
5 or 6. So, yeah,
And do you try to instill that? And when you're hiring, are you looking to hire people that are aligned with the same values?
yes, we do. And we actually have an employee recognition program, like an award program.
Okay.
They're called Obsidian Big Bucks. They look like a dollar bill, but they have a deer head on them.
Okay.
And employees are rewarded for kindness, good deeds, things that just should come natural to them, but
Hmm.
I don't think always do in the workplace.
Right.
So we reward our employees for those things and recognize
How
them.
does that program work? Do they have coworkers recognize them? Do you have a little
Yes,
box that people put names into?
managers
Okay.
can hand them out, and then we also have a board, a gratitude board, that they can put a post-it on for their manager or a peer, anyone in the building that they want to thank or call out that did something good or was kind to them. We had somebody, one of our workers, go out in a snowstorm and clear everybody's car off.
Oh.
Just silently, just went out and
Mm-hmm.
cleared them all off before we all had to leave. And I remember somebody putting that up on the board, or helping me finish my big project that I almost didn't make the deadline for. Those types of things. I know it's a little, it could be a little cushy there and everything, but I think to promote that and say this is what we're looking for in people, I think it helps build your culture in a positive way.
Yeah, no, I think it's incredibly wise. And I love the concept of a gratitude board at work. I haven't heard of that
Yeah,
before, and just the fact that you said the word kindness twice, in the last
yeah.
few sentences.
I actually joined, the company joined the Random Acts of Kindness workplace, and it's a
Okay.
pledge that you make, and it's on our kindness or on our gratitude board. And it's just a declaration that our company is going to, practice kindness in the workplace
Uh
to our
huh.
customers and to our employees, to our vendors, everyone that our company touches.
Yeah.
And they send you a little decal that you can put on your window or door, and you're part of that. So um, the Random Acts of Kindness is a website, and a lot of teachers use it, but there's also a section on there for workplace, and it gives you ideas of things
Yeah.
to do and ways to be kind.
Thank you
So
for that. I'll definitely
yeah.
make sure to have a link for that in the show notes. That is fantastic. Um, so I wanted to also ask you, a lot of a lot of job shops, machine shops,
Mhm.
have uh, kind of visions and ideas that they want to have their own products. A lot of them, I hear a lot of people talk about that.
Mhm.
Since you do both contract work as well as your own products, can you talk a little bit about that, sort of contrasting? I think a lot of people think the grass is always greener on this. If you had your own product and you don't need
Mhm.
to, maybe you're controlling more of your destiny. I don't know. Um, but I know there's always a two-sided to every coin.
Mhm.
Um, can you just elaborate on what some of the pros and cons are of having a product business versus?
Um, I think it gets, like I said before, I think it makes us more diversified. I think when contract work is down, and flagging, then I think some of the other, because we do custom work holding, custom lift magnets, all that type of thing.
Hmm.
So we've spread ourselves out enough with our brands. Our brands work well together as also, which is another good thing about our brands. But I think it helps. The reason we bought the grinders is because they were in the building that we needed to rent, and they had went out
Okay.
of business. The grind shop did,
Oh.
and we had always sent our surface grinding here, and we needed a place to move, and we agreed to start leasing the building if we cleaned it out and we purchased the assets. So
Hmm.
it was kind of a roller coaster ride through all that, but
Sure. Yeah.
it was a positive thing, and we knew that we were going to save by owning the grinders and not having to send all of our grinding work down here. So that was a good thing. But yeah, we've learned a lot since having that. And one of the biggest points I would have to say for our grind shop is that we don't have a mechanical engineer here that's on staff full time, because a lot of our engineering has already been done because our brands are so old.
Hmm.
But we do have an engineer that will pull in to do special projects or whatever.
Okay.
And we have a sales engineer here, and all the grinding passes through our sales engineer. So there are times that we'll get a grind quote, and you literally can't grind it the way the customer is asking. And so when
Okay.
it passes through the engineering,
Hmm.
um, that's like a plus. Most grind shops do not have an engineer available to them. They're just a grind shop, and they're not manufacturing everything. They're just doing the contract work.
Right.
So I would have to say that's a big plus for us. It helps
Right.
having that person on site, because it's either the order of operation that they're doing. They want to grind something and then they're going to go weld it. And we're like, well, you're not going to keep your tolerances and your flatness that you want and everything. So that helps having an engineer on site. That helps our grinding customers a lot.
Yeah,
so, I mean, they work together, the grinding and the brands. They work well together.
Absolutely. Are there challenges in having a product business that people might not think about when they're, whether it's customer support things or who knows what?
Well, I hate to be, I don't ever like to complain when we're super busy.
Okay.
But it can get stressful because we're like, one of our really good machinists is also a grinder operator. So which ones is he, which job is he going to be doing, that type of thing. So it's probably more of a workforce problem than anything else. But we just can't afford to have everybody employed all the time if we don't have a steady stream of work. Mm-hmm. So that's the big problem.
Yeah, sure. And you do marketing and sales for the grind shop as well as your own products. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do. Yep.
Yeah. That makes sense. What I often like to ask, what are sort of the biggest challenges you're facing today as a company?
I think I already touched on that. It would be steady sales. I think I listened to one of your podcasts and I remember the gentleman saying, you don't want to start selling when you need the sale. So it's a constant selling type thing. And in a small business, several of us wear different hats.
Sure.
So you can get all involved in planning a project and everything, and then you realize that you still need to be quoting. Mm-hmm. You've got your stack of quoting that you need to get to. So it's a constant juggle, I would have to say. And until you're able to grow and get the employees that do just
that one thing.
Job, that's so the biggest hurdle is getting through that growth.
Is it sometimes the case where your marketing is generating opportunities that you don't have the time to get to quote?
Yeah. We always get to the quotes. We'll stay late to do those, but it is, there are times where our marketing is bringing in a lot of leads and it gets a little overwhelming, but I don't even like to speak that. So I wish I could suck that back because I don't ever want to complain having too much work or too much to quote.
Yeah, I always say it's a good thing for all of us. Yeah.
Exactly.
Sure. So over the years, you clearly have done some things very right. Focusing on marketing is clearly going to be on that list. But what else would you say you'd chalk up in sort of the things you guys have done really well that have led to your success over the years?
It was a difficult move, and we second guessed ourselves far more than 2 times. But buying the grind shop was a good move. It brought us in additional business, and it gave us a bigger perspective on things. As far as like I said, we were sending our grinding down here, so now we're actually doing the grinding, and that just kind of opened our eyes to all the things that we had been sending out to different places for whatever process. It just made us deal with those people a little bit differently than we had before. It gave us a new perspective of job shops, I guess.
Yeah.
When you finally become one.
Sure. Yeah. Excellent. I'd love to just more on the maybe your experience side. What are some of the most memorable experiences you've had with your companies? Whether it's customers or employees or something else that you've done, but something that you just always look back on fondly.
Well, at one time before my dad passed away, he was consulting with us. So that will always be something that's special to me, working with my dad. Seeing my kids grow up, learning responsibility and accountability, all of that, through working here. And it's kind of nice to take a step back and watch them grow and learn. And I don't have to actually be the teacher. The customer just taught them accountability, or a vendor or coworker, that type of thing. But also, we've built some pretty unique things, some special projects. We had a huge vacuum truck that we did. I believe it was 2010. You don't get those every day. I mean, I don't remember the size, but it was huge. We've built a few big vacuum trucks before, but that was a memorable one. Another memory, again, with my dad, but our 84-inch grinder, rotary surface grinder, when I was sorting through all the paperwork that was left in the building with it, I discovered the paperwork of the inspection of when it was manufactured, because it was manufactured in the Matson Machine Work company here in Rockford. And my dad worked there at the time, and he was actually the one that signed the inspection report.
Oh my God.
So that was like a goosebump. Yeah, that was a goosebump moment. Like, I guess I really am on the right path.
I love that.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, the train's going by. I'm gonna have to pause for a second. So let me ask this question. How do you drive engagement with your employees? You clearly do a bunch of things, from the gratitude board and other stuff. Can you elaborate a little bit more?
We have a daily meeting. It's a stand-up meeting that lasts about 10 minutes, and it gets everybody on board. But we actually have it after lunch. And there's 3 things we hit upon. What are you working on? What goal are you trying to meet? What's in your way, and how can we help? So we could just go around the circle, and everybody gets a chance to talk, and we cover where we're at on things, and it keeps everybody in the know. We host potlucks. That's a good one for feed your employees, and they'll always be your friend. No, it's a good way to just get everybody to socialize together. We're celebrating our 15th anniversary of being in business, and we took them to a Ice Hogs game, which Ice Hogs is a local hockey team that feeds into the NHL. The Chicago Blackhawks are affiliated with them. So we bought tickets and took them there. And we try to do a lot of things. On Manufacturing Day, we had a food truck come to our parking lot. We got everybody food and played some games. Just kind of showed them some appreciation for what they do and their dedication to the company.
I love that idea of standing around at a meeting and having the last thing is, how can we help you, or what can we, how can we support you? That's, does that, I mean, I imagine that could, if that type of meeting is run really well, that could be something that everyone looks forward to.
It does, and it also keeps us on track, and it forces communication. So whoever's leading the meeting, which is usually, a management position, they will make sure that everybody talks. Everybody's saying what they're doing or what they're going to do or what's standing in the way. I ran out of something. This hasn't come in yet. I need that machine. I can't use the crane. Whatever problem they're having, we discuss it and make sure everybody's aware of it. So it does help. It helps sales because they know what to tell customers when they call in and say, where's my stuff, or where are we at on this? And it just helps everybody all around.
Do those suggestions or things that people are talking about, does that turn in? Is there a mechanism to turn that into sort of a formal improvement activity, kind of a lean concept kind of thing at all?
It could be. I mean, it's very casual right now.
Right.
Um, at one time, we had somebody taking notes, but they were kind of leaning on those notes of, you said this on this date, and why isn't it happening? And
Mm,
I'm like, well, those notes were never approved. It's not like it's just somebody taking notes. So
right.
we kind of got away from that because it could go the wrong way and lots of
Mm,
finger pointing.
mm,
So it's just a way for everybody to openly communicate and everybody in the same spot at one time to hear it all, so it doesn't have to be repeated.
yeah.
That's the biggest advantage of it.
Sure.
Like I gave the example of sales knowing if something's getting finished or if there's a delay, it can work the other way. Sales speaks up and says, I told them it was going to ship this afternoon, so I hope you're boxing it up type
Yeah.
thing. So it's a good way to communicate. A customer called and didn't like the way their grinding job was packaged when they picked it up, all that kind of stuff.
Mm. Yeah, I can imagine that that just helps keep everyone on the same page and streamlines, yeah, communication, which is so essential when there's a million variables flowing around with material coming and
Yes.
going and jobs and people and things and shifts and yeah.
And it's just nice to have everybody in one spot hearing it all at the same time so that it's not running around and telling each department or we don't encourage the guys on the shop floor to be looking at their email all the time just because they're running machines and stuff. So it's a good way to communicate.
Excellent. Um, so I'd love to have you just share a little bit about where people can find you, reach you, if they want to learn more about you, your products, your companies,
They can
various
look for
website
me on
URLs.
LinkedIn.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll make sure that
LinkedIn.
link is there.
Yeah, and
Do you have
our
websites for each of
websites.
your brands, or just
We do.
Obsidian?
We do have websites, and you can get to them all from our Obsidian website. So if you go to our Obsidian one, there's links for all of the brands there. It's obsidianmfg.com.
Okay.
And, we the phone rings and email. My email's even on our website, so you can email me direct
Okay.
from there.
Okay. Very good. Well, Sue, thank you so much for sitting down with me and sharing that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a
Thank you for having
really
me.
neat story. A lot of history there.
Yeah, there is.
Having brands that are 100 years old, that's kind of mind blowing these days. There's not that many brands that make it that long. So,
Yeah, and it's a whole nother ball game. I mean, in the research that sometimes we need to go into for a grinder is a little. I don't think customers realize it. So not everything's digitized.
sure.
I would need a wealth of money to digitize all of that paperwork.
Understood. Yeah, understood.
So
Awesome. Well, thank you again. I'll make sure various links and things you've talked about are in the show notes. But yeah, it's been a pleasure and
thank
nice
you.
to talk with you today.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Take care, Sue.